Okay, so I have Georgia here today. Thank you so much for joining me. Georgia is from Autistica. And yeah, we're going to spend like the next kind of 20 minutes or so having a chat about Autistica and World Autism Awareness Month and all those different things. So to start us off, Georgia, for those that maybe don't know too much about Autistica, could you tell us a bit about what you do and your role as well?
Yeah, no problem. So Autistica is the UK's autism research and campaigning charity. So what we do is we fund and we use research to develop evidence-based solutions for autistic people, including autistic children and young people. But we also use this evidence to shape more inclusive services and influence policymakers to make change happen for autistic people in the UK. We know that the rate of autistic people in the games industry is higher than in other sectors. And we also know that many autistic children and young people love gaming and actually, finding games a safe space and a point of connection, and that can really help them with the development of social skill. So because of these synergies, we started working more closely with the games industry back in 2018. And we set up what we call the Autistica Play, which is our games-focused initiative. So through Autistica Play, we raise awareness of the positive role video games can play in the lives of autistic people. We work closely with the games industry on neuro-inclusion or neurodiversity initiatives, and we connect with neurodivergent players as well as streamers through games-focused or games-related events. As far as I am concerned, I am part of the fundraising team at Autistica, where specifically I head up corporate fundraising. So essentially any type of engagement the charity has with a company, from traditional employee fundraising to more strategic and commercial partnerships, that falls under my remit.
Amazing. So you get to do lots of like video game stream chats, I imagine, and get to see lots of video game streams. I'm very jealous. Like I want to call that my work as well.
I do. It's actually so varied as a role because I tap into various different industries. So I could go from very corporate events like financial services to actually sitting and watching streams from people who do content creation, and it's just like it's incredibly different, which obviously makes what I do incredibly enjoyable as well. So yeah, it's really cool.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, so Georgia and I know each other through my company End Dreams. Yeah, no, it's been really fab to kind of team up and work on a few different things. I know, gosh, it was about this time 2 years ago. I was doing a bungee jump for Autistica.
Yeah,
that was.
We still have your picture on our website. It's never gonna go off.
No, it's stuck there for good now. Yeah, I just remember. I think I'd been at End Dreams like 2 months maybe, and then my boss was just like, go on, I dare you. So that was a really fun way of getting started. So it's lovely to be able to kind of come back together and do this stream as well.
Yeah, you've been an amazing supporter. Thank you.
No, thank you. You do a lot of really lovely work, so it's nice to be able to help out. And speaking of kind of the work that you all do, so Autistica has 6 goals that you're looking to reach by 2030. So could you talk to us a little bit about each of these goals and kind of their importance?
Yeah, so we call them Autistica 2030 goals, and they are essentially our agenda for change. So it really, it sets out the change autistic people want to see over this decade, and their vision for a different world. So a world where every autistic person can access the support they need when they need it, a world where they can find fulfilling and sustainable employment, a world where they can live in an inclusive and accepting society. It is not acceptable, but unfortunately, this is the reality for many, that autistic people are still waiting years before receiving a diagnosis. And when they do finally receive one, there is little, if any, appropriate supports in place. And it is unacceptable that mental health is currently the norm among autistic people. And it is unacceptable that they are facing one of the lowest employment rates. So our 2030 goals are tackling 6 areas of most urgent need as informed by the autistic community. And these are, I'll try to remember them all now in the right order, proven support right after diagnosis, doubling the employment rates for autistic people, proven treatments and supports for anxiety and mental health, more accessible public spaces, tailored yearly health checks, and more inclusive public attitudes towards autistic people. So these goals are important, they are ambitious, but they do need to be ambitious to be really enable an attitude shift in society. But importantly, they are also achievable. So they are the results of years of research on what works and what doesn't, years of consultations with the autistic community, government, and other key stakeholders. So they really represent a gold opportunity to really shift the dial around autism and neurodiversity. So, it's a particularly exciting time for Autistica.
Yeah, I think it's really great. Like, you guys are doing so much kind of like in terms of you've got so much evidence backing you up, but then you're also using the autistic community to help kind of with that as well. I think that's a really massive, important thing. It's not just kind of like plucked from thin air. It's very much kind of there's a strategy behind everything. And I think I remember reading the employment statistics around like autistic people being about like, I think it's like 3 in 10 people, 3 in 10 autistic people are employed. And that's, I mean, it's just incredible, but it's that really sad thing of like, I understand why, because the workplace can be such a difficult place if you've not got those accommodations and that support that you need. So by being like, so having places like Autistica being able to help these companies kind of understand what they can do to help autistic people thrive in the workplace, I just think that's brilliant and it's really going to help out. And
it's exactly that. And I mean, the statistics, the numbers sometimes shift, but they've been quite consistent over, I don't know, I think over a decade now. And it's a really missed opportunity. Obviously, for society, we need to do better, but also, for employers, because we know that a lot of autistic people do want to work, can contribute immensely to the workplace, but because everything is being created around a neurotypical mindset, then interview stage, there are barriers, and these barriers are not that difficult to remove. They can be very low cost. We're not talking about changing a whole building or anything as invasive as that. It can be really like simple, reasonable adjustments. And sometimes it's really about understanding what these adjustments are and then, get a start on those.
Amazing. Yeah. So we've touched on a little bit of kind of like the evidence-based research you've all been doing. So what are a few of those current kind of research projects that are going on that will help reach these 2030 goals?
Yeah, so and the REACH goal, and you will find all this information on our website, sets a plan of action. So essentially a set of projects that we have identified as key to making change happen by 2030. So for example, as part of our goal around supports after diagnosis, which we call support from day one, we are developing an everyday tips hub, which is an online space that autistic people and their families can access anywhere and right when they need it to find evidence-based resources and information, but also tips from autistic people themselves to help them manage everyday challenges, from the most basic, like I need to take my autistic kid to the hairdresser. Any tips? What can I do? What works and what doesn't? Sensory challenges, the daily challenges that autistic people face. And as part of our goal of doubling the employment rates for autistic people, we have very recently launched what we call the Autistica Neurodiversity Employers Index, which is a gold standard tool that gives companies taking part a personalized roadmap of next steps and actions on how they can become more neuro-inclusive.
Yeah, I remember. I know Dreams are taking part in that research
Yeah.
as well. I remember filling out the forms, and it goes into a lot of really good depth. So you know that it's gonna be able to really pick out some good answers there as well. And it's always good to have like those kind of, like you said, it doesn't take too much to start those accommodations, and so almost giving those employers a bit of a kind of like how-to guide almost would be.
Yeah, and it really comes from a demand that I've seen over the years. I've been at Autistica for, 7, maybe 8 years now. I've lost count. And since my very first day, I remember how, companies were getting really interested into this back then quite new area of diversity that were focusing a lot on gender and ethnicity, and then neurodiversity was picking up. And it's been rising the agenda ever since. But many, and they still do, they just don't know that much around the topic, and they don't really necessarily know how to get started. They potentially have very different journeys as well. You have small companies that are only just started looking at that, and you have bigger companies who have more extensive neurodiversity strategies in place. So it was really about, some of them are a bit nervous about getting it wrong. So it was really like, drawing on our evidence base that we've been collecting over the years to really provide, that tailored roadmap of what you should be doing over the next year to help improve in this area. And that means being able to support autistic people that are already in the workplace better, or ensuring that what you are doing is actually working for them. And also, making sure that your recruitment practices are more inclusive, so that you can attract and retain talent wanting to come and work for you.
Amazing, yeah. And then that way, you've got these amazing, talented people in your workplace that are just going to absolutely thrive, and even just from doing those small accommodations that you wouldn't even think would make much of a difference. I suppose that kind of takes me into the next question of like, what are maybe some like common myths around autism that can lead to so many people feeling like really misunderstood?
Sorry about that. Yeah, there's still a few going round. One that I actually come across fairly regularly is the association between autism and mental health. So that autism is a mental health condition, but actually it's not. Autism is not, I'm going to make it super clear, a mental health condition. It doesn't come and go. It's a neurodevelopmental condition, an intrinsic part of who you are. And I think that's really important, to consider when you are talking to autistic people. And another common stereotype actually is around, I don't know if this is more a stereotype or a behavior, but it's around boxing autistic people into very defined categories, such as thinking that all autistic people are amazing at maths. And that's just not the case. Every autistic person is different. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and autistic people are no different. Yes, you can have autistic people can be incredibly good at maths, but that doesn't mean that it's all of them. So I think really looking at the individual. So every autistic person is different. I think if you don't do that, then you end up, you may risk falling into those stereotypes quite quickly.
Yeah, and those stereotypes can be so difficult, especially for people that are maybe still going through diagnosis or just figuring out if maybe they are neurodiverse. I know I spent a really long time being like, no, that's not me. I don't look like that. I don't do X, Y, Z. And I was pointing out very specific parts of being autistic that not everybody experiences. And, you know, that's kind of, you know, and that makes that really difficult to kind of start understanding yourself. It takes so much longer and it can be a really rough journey. And then obviously, and then it can affect your mental health kind of through that almost. So yeah, I think it's really good for us to kind of see lots of different variations of autism and neurodiversity, especially in things like media as well, and more like movies and TV shows as well. See more people through there.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that every autistic person is necessarily Rain Man. I mean, this could be like a very old type of reference for younger people, but it's just there. It's you know, I've met in my years at Autistica, but also in my personal life, I've met many autistic people, and one person was not like the other. Just like you and I are different, just like everyone is different. So I think that's the fundamental principle to bear in mind for sure.
Amazing. Okay, fab. Well, we're nearly coming to the end, but I'm gonna finish this off with one last question. So for me, having a workplace and a home where I can feel really safe and supported, and that allows me to be my authentic self, that means everything to me. That has made my life so much better. And so for any like managers out there or somebody that maybe lives with an autistic person, what kind of support could they provide to help an autistic person feel a little bit safer and supported?
I think at a fundamental level, and this is also back to my experience because I work with autistic people, I have managed autistic people, I have colleagues, I have friends. It's really about looking at the individual. Strip everything down and just look at the person in front of you. And it's about, you know, having that conversation. Like I said before, everyone comes with strengths and needs. It's really about having the conversation about what works for that individual and what doesn't work. And to be honest, there is a lot to learn from working with autistic people because it's something, having these sort of conversations or looking at a person as an individual can really benefit everyone, not just autistic people. So if I were to give one single piece of advice is, to look every autistic person as a unique individual that comes with, you know, their own unique challenges, strengths and needs, and be prepared to have that conversation.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Georgia. So today we are doing some fundraising, of course, as well, with it being World Autism Acceptance Month. So for those that are able to do a donation today, that would be amazing. We'd really appreciate it. What would that money kind of go towards, Georgia?
Yeah, so I would say obviously 2030, when we put together the goals, that was like at the beginning of 2020, I think. But actually now we're in 2024, so 2030 is not that far. So each donation that is being made today is really bringing us closer to achieving the 2030 goals that we mentioned. And it means that we can get, you know, key projects off the ground and faster and make the change autistic people want to see happen within this decade. So it's really bringing us close to those goals. And I mean, I really cannot thank you enough for doing that, Sarah, but also for everyone that is going to support you today or has already supported you. It really means the world to everyone. So thank you on behalf of everyone at Autistica.
Thank you so much. It's been brilliant chatting with you, Georgia. And yes, thank you so much to everybody that's, you know, supporting us today. It really means a lot. And yeah, let's get those 2030 goals, shall we?
Yay!
Yes. Amazing. Okay, we're going to wrap up there then, Georgia. Thank you so much for joining me today. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you enjoy the stream as well.
I love it. I'm sure you'll be amazing.
Thank you.